can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie the Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. So today's video, we're gonna be talking about Storm number 5. And this one, man, I actually was not sure what to expect from this this particular one. And once again, this is with me having had constant conversations with Moreo off to the side. I have been constantly and consistently surprised every issue, and with this one, this is really going to be the first issue that we spend a lot of time with Oblivion. Yes, Oblivion has been narrating the series pretty much, I would say pretty much from the word go, but this is really the first time we're spending a lot of time with Oblivion. I actually talked about the character a little bit in the previous video, so I'm not going to rehash any of that here. Just go check out this video up here and to get you caught up. But this is the first issue not only where we get to spend a little bit more time with Oblivion, but it is also the first issue where we get to see what the Eternal Storm could potentially be. We saw Storm achieve Eternal Storm status in issue 4. In this case, we're actually getting to witness how she moves, her powers, but not really at a 100% yet. And what I mean by that is that, well, in this issue, Storm has become Eternal Storm. Storm is not in the driver's seat. That is something to be very cognizant of with this issue. It's Eternity who is piloting Storm in this, at least in terms of what's being said and the actions being taken. We get to see her do some pretty interesting things. One thing that I thought was really cool, and I can actually 110% confirm this because Moreo actually told me this, is that there's a moment where we saw her versus Igon. And the thing that I wonder, and actually I know some people kind of told me about this in the comments, Moreo actually confirmed it for me as well as some people I know, IRL. But when I was talking about in the previous video that I couldn't really find anything about Igon, any information, so I just kind of assumed maybe it was something that Moreo had either just kind of made up or kind of did like a an amalgam of some different Yoruba deities. That was kind of what I was maybe thinking was going on here, but actually I have been put on game, and it's always a learning experience for me because, and I think it should be a learning experience all the time for everybody, but I actually have it straight here from the well that Storm is drawn from. The reason why I could not find him is because I wasn't spelling his name correctly. What I learned from Ororo is that it's actually Igon, which is a manifestation of ancestral spirits. And Moreo has taken this idea and turned it into what we see in this comic and just kind of, basically making something that could potentially hang around for a while. And you're probably wondering, well, didn't Storm retire Igon's jersey at the end of issue 4? You would be incorrect. How can you kill what cannot die? You can't. And we also got to remember who she is now being piloted by Eternity. And Eternity, as we learn in this issue, is a greedy sumbitch. And what is he doing? And once again, this kind of goes back to the thing I was confirming, is that there's a scene, and when I saw it, I actually loved it because, once again, you're kind of having these back and forths with Moreo about this. When he told me what it was, I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, this guy's a JJK fan. When I saw it, I immediately, kind of knew what time it was, but just, the entire reference of it, I was like, yeah, okay, bet. And he confirmed it when we were chatting back and forth. So I thought it was really cool. I don't think this is just a simple homage either. The whole idea of Storm taking the essence of Igon and swallowing it, no differently than how Gato would, swallow a curse. It's one of those things like, yeah, I thought it was awesome. I actually thought this was pretty damn awesome. And just like with Gato, I'm positive this is going to come back and pay some dividends down the road. I've gotten it on pretty good authority from Moreo that this is how this is probably going to play out. Not necessarily the time, but definitely the end game of it. So yeah, this is going to be something awesome. This is going to be something awesome. But the other thing that comes up in this too is that once again, we get to see what Storm is capable of. She is capable of incredible power, things that, technically we've seen her do before, but now she is doing it with a whole new flair. And Eternity, a being who has lived for eons untold, of course he's going to be able to clean up Dr. Doom, Sorcerer Supreme or not. And granted, it's just a simulacrum of Doom. It's not the actual Doom. You know, he's basically fighting a shadow clone. But what I love about this is that regardless of what you feel about the idea of Storm not being in control of the power right away, one thing that is definitely evident is that Storm, while she may not be in the driver's seat, she ain't scared to snatch the wheel. Because there's a moment where Eternity is about to cause Storm to commit an act that she doesn't want to commit. And, you know, I've made a lot of comments that have made people upset, you know, over time, talking about the Storm series. There are some people who don't know how to read. There are some people that don't know what question marks are, and you know who you are. If you come back to this video, you know who you are. You have been called. People don't know what question marks are, and are mad that I made the comment in, you know, on a thumbnail, you know, saying, "Oh, better than the Phoenix?" Question mark. Didn't see the question mark, just saw the statement and just took it as an actual declarative statement, not as an actual question. Well, in this issue, I can definitely tell you one thing that Storm is better at when it comes to being controlled by a powerful cosmic being. It's called control. Jean could not control the Dark Phoenix. Jean was out here fucking shit up as the Dark Phoenix. I mean, granted, yeah, they did go back and retcon it so that Jean wasn't actually the one who was doing all the bad shit that, you know, the Dark Phoenix had did. But the thing is, the whole issue with the whole Dark Phoenix saga is that Jean couldn't control it. And that's kind of where it all comes from. In this, Storm has been the Eternal Storm for not very long, and while she's not controlling herself, once again, Eternity is piloting, but at a moment where Storm could have just as easily had killed Doctor Doom if she really wanted to, she does not. Eternity wants to kill Doctor Doom, but Storm does not, and she stays her hand. She's actually able to stop Eternity from doing it. Matter of fact, even Dr. Doom says as much. He says that Ororo will not allow you to kill an unarmed man. And what's kind of funny about that statement is that, well, yes, he does not have any weapons in his hand. He's the Sorcerer Supreme. So technically, those hands are registered at all times, but you get my point. Doom is not actively trying to harm Storm. So why would she try to kill him? And that's the thing. It all goes back to principles. Storm is one of the, and I've said it all the time, Storm is one of the most principled members of the X-Men. People always love to talk about, oh, well, you know, what about, you know, Cyclops, Jean? No. Even more than them. Even more than them. Storm is more principled than anybody else. Yes, Colossus too, because Colossus has been on that bullshit before. He has, if you go back to the 90s. So yeah, no, Storm is one of the most principled members of the team. So of course she's not going to do that. She has more self-control than probably just about anybody. As a matter of fact, you know, even when she became the Eternal Storm, you know, back in the Claremont Uncanny X-Men days, when she was the Rogue Storm, while she did lose control of herself, she quickly regained it. So it just proves that, you know, I'm gonna say it. You know what? Fine, be mad. Storm's better. There you go. Die mad about it. Argue with the mama, don't argue with me. Anyway, the question now becomes, why is all this happening? Why is Eternity in need of a host? Why is he trying to take over Storm's body? Well, at the end of the day, it all comes down to what all disputes come down to. It all comes down to a woman. Cherchez la femme. Yeah, y'all know the term. Look for the woman. When there's trouble, look for the woman. No, I'm joking. I mean, there is a woman at the heart of this, but I mean, I always thought that was a strange saying. I'm sure that'll be clipped and used against me at some point, but whatever. The whole thing here between Eternity and Oblivion all comes down to an eons old rivalry. And it's one of those situations where Oblivion has proven on multiple accounts he wants that smoke. Over the past 3 eons, Oblivion and Eternity have had little disputes with one another. And oftentimes it's Oblivion who's the one who is like, I have a problem with this, and I think it should be dealt with this way. And the only way they're able to suss out these problems is to have a duel. And this duel will oftentimes be Eternity's champion versus Oblivion's champion. But there's one little wrinkle in the whole thing. While Eternity has a champion, Oblivion is his own champion. And every time Eternity puts up a challenger, Oblivion deletes them immediately. Like, without question, it is never a contest. It is always a one-hitter quitter. And this has been going on for 3 eons. And we actually get to see at the very beginning of all this that the original kickoff for this is that Oblivion did not want to house his twin anymore. For those who do not know, eternity and oblivion are primordial forces, and they are forces that have existed since the dawn of time. Eternity has a twin named infinity. Oblivion has a twin who you might know a bit more, and that's death. Yes, the very same death, the same one that Thanos has been thirsting after for a very long time. And now we are in this situation where Oblivion, 3 billion some odd years ago, decided that he didn't want to house his twin sister Death anymore. He wanted to let her go. Now, the reasoning behind this is because of real estate, cosmic real estate. At this point, eternity, because of the vast nature of what eternity is everywhere. And because it also houses infinity, imagine that, the two combined, eternity probably wants to take up everything, to expand, to be as vast as the universe itself. It would make sense. And Oblivion, which is technically the embodiment of the vast emptiness, you would imagine that Oblivion doesn't get very much space, and yet at the same time gets a lot of space. But Oblivion wants more, and to be able to do more, he has to be able to make room, and that's to get death out of him. And what Oblivion wants is for eternity to house his sister Death with infinity. Which is kind of funny when you think about it, because it's almost like you got eternal infinite death. That's a kind of funny way to put that. And Oblivion gets exactly what he wants. Eternity puts up a challenger. Oblivion immediately lays the challenger down. And this is what was ultimately the origin point of death in the universe. When Oblivion let death go, this made it where death was possible in the prime material plane, because eternity is the universe itself. Well, now things have changed. Oblivion has discovered that they're empty without the presence of their sister, and they want her back. But the trick is that Eternity wants to give her back, but not for free. There is going to be an exchange, and this means that they are going to have to haggle for it, or at the very least, have a trial by combat. This is what it all ultimately comes down to. And what I like about this too is that for all this time, Oblivion has often been depicted as a joyless, feelingless creature. And in this, it's actually revealed that he can actually feel emotions other than like rage or anger. There's other multitudes to the character, but it takes the living tribunal to bring them out of him. But the thing is, who knows if Oblivion's playing the long game here or not? There's a moment where we see that when Oblivion tries to attack Eternity, outside of the normal rules of engagement, the living tribunal has to step in and shut the whole thing down. And in this moment, it's here where the one above all, because once again, the living tribunal is the arbiter for the one above all. The one above all has set all this in motion. For those who know what the one above all is, the one above all is basically God in the Marvel Comics universe. You have the one below all, you have the one above all. It all makes sense, right? And it gets even weirder if you go by the Immortal Hulk version of the whole thing, where they're actually the same being. Two sides of the exact same coin, and literally the same person. Just depends on what day you find them, how they feel that day, that whole thing. But in this moment where Oblivion is wrought over the loss of his sister Death and wanting her back for himself, this presents an opportunity, one that the one above all takes notice of. The one above all sees that Oblivion is emotionally broken. So does the living tribunal. And it's something that reverberates across the entire Marvel Comics universe. There's a moment where we see that, back at the House of Ideas, the one above all kind of sends a shockwave across the entire cosmos, across all of reality, one that even the Watcher has to take notice of, one that even Spider-Man's spider senses are tingling as a result of, and one that more specifically is caught notice of by the Phoenix. Jean Grey recognizes it and also recognizes Storm's involvement in the whole thing. Even though technically these precise moments don't actually have anything specifically one to do with her at this precise moment. But still, just the same, Jean takes stock of it. And this is, once again, one of those reasons why, and like I said, I'm going to keep saying this. I'm going to forever keep saying this. I think we need a Phoenix, Eternal Storm series. I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep saying it. Tom Brevoort, can you hook that up? Can we get the crossover going already? Can we make it happen? I mean, literally, I know that's been said. I've been told that it's not intentional, that any of these things are kind of lining up, but they're lining smooth the fuck up. So let's go ahead and, I know you got X-Manhunt on the way. That's cool and all. I mean, that's a cool thing. I'm here for it. However, if you're gonna give me that raid on Grey Malk and shit, you can give me some raid on Storm and Jean Grey shit. Give me that too. Yeah. You can give that 4 issues. You can give me 4 issues. How about that? The Oblivion versus Eternity rematch is on, but this time there are new stakes involved, and the stakes are actually higher than they've ever been, because whoever wins is going to gain unchecked, limitless eons of unbound sovereignty and freedom to house infinity and death and whatsoever they choose. Basically meaning that you can do whatever the fuck you want. If Oblivion wins or Eternity wins, whoever wins, they could choose to take up all that they survey. Like literally a everything the light touches is mine type of energy, which is very interesting considering that it's kind of implied Eternity's already slick been doing that, but this is where things are going to get bad and why it's bad news for Eternity. It's already been hinted that that's what Eternity does. He takes up everything. That's what Eternity exists to do. So it makes things even more pressing when whoever loses is said by the Living Tribunal that they will be hammered into a speck, uninhabitable to even an atom or thought. That is why Eternity is dead set on picking the Omega level big bout machine Storm to be his host, because he recognizes he's going to need the Wind Rider Goat, the Weather Witch herself, Hadari Yao. He is going to need her if he wants a chance to win. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, considering that Oblivion has never selected someone to challenge for him, that means that Storm is gonna have to face off against Oblivion himself. That is wild. And considering that you go back through the Krakoan era, it was one of those things where Storm was the one who never died. And throughout that entire era, an era of prosperity where mutants could be resurrected at will, like literally on tap resurrection. She never died. And now she's facing the fight of her life with more power than she has ever possessed ever in the history of ever. And there's a very real chance that she is, and once again, this is a woman who literally faced death himself during the Krakoan era and walked away the winner. And now she faces the embodiment of Oblivion, all for the fate of death. And another thing that we really need to consider here too is that it's not just for the fate of death, but it's also for the fate of Eternity, because if Eternity loses and is, as the Living Tribunal points out, hammered down to a single speck where not even a single atom or a single thought can inhabit Eternity, that means humanity is fucked. That's the end of existence as reality knows it. All of existence would be oblivion. More specifically, infinite death and oblivion. And there's a very real chance Storm won't walk away so clean. And I know what some people are probably thinking. The previous issue, Storm did actually die at the hands of Igon. Whether or not she faces another very real death is another story altogether. But I feel like Storm is going to do what Storm always does. She's going to circumvent the power of the people who think they have the one up on her. That's what she does. She has fought many an enemy. She has fought so many who thought that they could defeat her, whether she had power or didn't have power. So this isn't going to be Storm's first rodeo, dealing with something that is more powerful than herself. And I think Storm is not going to be found wanting. Not on this one. Mark my words. She's going to let Igon go at some point, probably at a moment where she's going to need him the most. And we can't forget that Dr. Doom is waiting in the wings somewhere. There's something that he says when Eternity walks away. in that moment where Storm holds herself back from killing Doom. He says it's Death who evades his wrath, and Death is the very entity that Oblivion's trying to get his hands on, that Eternity is trying to get rid of. I have a feeling Doom is gonna play a way back into this as well, whether it's Doom or Igon or both of them. But mark my words, that line was not said on accident.